I'm also recording this session, so if we're moving a little quickly at times, please feel confident that you can always go back to this recording and be able to view it again. The next thing that I like to mention, we're using Zoom right now, and I'm presenting. Most of you are probably watching my screen at the moment, but if at any point you want to regain control of your own screen, simply hit the escape button in the top left corner. That will exit out of my share with you and allow you to go to any resources or your slides, or go to docs or slides and be able to do what you need to. So real quick, some norms that we're going to look at. The first one is offering ourselves and each other grace. If you're in our previous session, you met Carter, and he's my 3-year-old. He's awesome, but he might bounce in at any moment. The next is to ask. If you have any questions, go into the chat of Zoom and drop your question in there, and John or Eric will get back to you pretty quickly. If it's a question that they need me to address, they'll unmute, chime in, and get my attention that way. The next thing is that we try something new. If you have used Docs every single day for the past 10 years, you might still find something new in our session that you're like, yeah, I'm going to take that. Which leads us to our next thing, which is to share. As we're going, if you discover a new part of Docs or a new idea about how you might use it, or with slides, pass that on to somebody else. If you want to pass the slides on, you can, or let someone know about the recording, you can do that too. And finally, we're all in this together. We're trying to serve our students and families, do the best that we can, and we're working towards that goal together. You're not alone. So I wanted to start off our session about Docs and slides by talking about Google Drive. And I think it's important to first understand what this kind of uniting tool is before we get into what these smaller tools are within Drive. So the first thing that I want to just quickly talk about is, what is the cloud? And if I can have 1 or 2 people who would like to unmute and describe what the cloud is, that would be great. And if my volunteers would also like to show their video, that'd be cool too. So any takers, anyone want to explain what the cloud is?
I'll go.
Okay.
So the cloud is imaginary-ish, but it is probably housed in some big warehouse or building somewhere that is a big server or hard drive where you can externally store your documents and you are not using up memory on your own physical computer. And in most cases at schools, they are paying for this external storage of your documents through learning management systems like Google Drive or other things.
Cool. Thank you, Caitlin. That's awesome. Good job. The cloud is all of our information is housed, like you said, on a server, but it's not a computer that's at my home. It's not on my computer itself. When we use our cell phone and we listen to music, we're listening to music that's on someone's server. It might be Spotify, it might be Apple, doesn't matter. We're listening to the music on a server. Now, kind of a related question. Would anyone like to describe what the term upload or download means? And again, I'll invite you to unmute, show your video if you can, and we'd love to hear that explanation too. Again, upload and download.
I guess I could answer.
Okay, Kara.
Upload is when you take a video or any information and you want to push it into the cloud virtually, and then download is when you pull it off of the cloud and bring it down into your computer.
Awesome, thank you. And it was a little bit off screen, but Kara, I'm gonna say that you did something that everybody else does whenever I ask that question. They use their hands to explain it, and I do that too. So when we talk about the cloud, we are uploading things that are on our computer. We're uploading it from my computer onto the cloud so I can access it anywhere. And when we're talking about download, we're taking it from the cloud and putting it back onto a device. And so I do this to explain this concept. And I think that this is important to talk through before we get into Drive, because if you're brand new to Drive, there's a good chance that you're going to be moving things from your computer onto Google Drive. And after you've used this tool for years or even months, you might take things that are on Drive and put them back on your computer to be able to use with your kids. And so just having that foundational understanding, to me, is really important before we get into what these tools can do for you and your students. So at this point, thank you to both of our volunteers. I'm going to bounce back to our presentation. We're going to keep rolling. So here, we're talking about the cloud. We're talking about some cloud tools, and kind of the launching point for both of these today will be drive.google.com. So you can get there however you know how. You can either type in that URL that's right here, or if you're on a page that has our app launcher icon, you can do it that way too. But I'm going to head to Drive, and I invite you all to do so as well. Okay, so here I'm in Google Drive, and and this will be like a 3-minute tutorial on how to use Drive, so very quick. The first thing that we see in the top left is the New button. When we click on that, it's going to give us a couple different things that we can make. By default, our cursor is going to be on folders. So it is encouraging you to organize using folders. Then we get the two choices of a file upload or a folder upload. File means you're moving one resource at a time. Folder, you can have it be as complex and have different subfolders, and it will keep that structure for you. So again, if you have something that's on a flash drive or your computer, you can upload it from that to the cloud so you can access it on any device. As we keep going down, we have kind of the 3 core tools of Google Drive: Docs, Sheets, and Slides. If you are coming from a Microsoft world, you know, we have Word, we have Excel, and PowerPoint. And if we keep scrolling down a little bit, we get to where it says More. And in here, we have some unique tools to Google Drive. Mine's moving a little slowly. We have things like Google Forms, and we'll have a session on that tomorrow if you want to join. We can make a Google drawing or create a map using Google My Maps or a website, and lots of different choices. We even have something called a Jamboard. So lots of different Google tools that are built in here. That all of these files are automatically going to be saved on the cloud for you so that you can access them on your phone, on your laptop, on your desktop. You can share it with people. Makes it very easy. Okay, continuing through here, we get a few other choices. You might see something that, or you'll see My Drive. These are all the files that you've created or that you've uploaded. We have shared drives, and that is something where it's like our team is going to collectively build these resources together. It's not owned by anyone in particular. Shared with me would be anything that Eric, the moderator, says, I want Adam to have access to, and now I can go and find it. I use the Recent tab quite a bit to find, well, here are the things that I've been working on today or last week, and I can easily go and find those resources. Starred will be my favorite things. So right now, I'm wrapping up grad school. This week is my final week of grad school. So if I need to find things for Longwood, I've starred that folder, and I can just click star, and it shows up in here, and I can start getting right to my work. It makes it very easy for me to find the next unit that I'm teaching, or maybe here are the end of grade, or how do I submit grades at the end of the quarter, and I have that favorited. I don't need to know it all the time, but I can easily find it if I use starred. So that's just a real quick overview of My Drive. A few other things that are important. Where it says search and drive, it's made by Google, right? So search is very powerful to find exactly what it is you're looking for. So you can always use the drop-down button here, and this is going to let you really specify what you're looking for. So you can say, I want to find my presentation that is owned by a particular coworker or maybe your principal. You can say the last time it was modified was this week, and you can really drill down to find exactly what it is that you're looking for and search. And so the only results that will come up will be presentations that I've worked on in the past week, which apparently is quite a few. All right, so that's how search works. And at this point, we're going to move into Google Docs, okay? So I'm gonna go back to my presentation and we're gonna watch a short video about Google Docs and what this tool is.
In this lesson, you'll learn about Google Docs. Docs is an online word processing tool that offers real-time collaboration and sharing. Docs can be accessed, created, and shared from any device, including a smartphone. Best of all, Google Docs is cloud-based and your work is automatically saved, so you never have to hit save again.
Okay. So again, a very short description of what Google Docs is. On the right-hand side, I have a few different skills that we're going to go through. And directly above the video is a link to a help guide. Let's go ahead and look at that real quick. When we go here, this is Google's Getting Started with Google Docs resource. And in here, we have short videos on a lot of different skills, like how do I create a doc, how do I share it? And then those are all video based. We have tips and tricks from different teachers. So how do I use docs with ELL students? Could be really helpful. And then we get different lesson ideas that you can use, and then also training materials that can help you to really build up your skills when it comes to using Google Docs. But for me right now, I want to get into a doc, and we can do that by when we're in Drive, again, going up to New and Google Docs. All right, so in here, the very first thing I do when I create a new Google Doc is to give it a title. And I want to do that by clicking where it says Untitled Document in the top left. And I'm going to give this a name. So my name is going to be Live Demo 727. This is the very first thing that I do because for the first 5 or 6 years of using Google Docs, I had probably 800, and I'm not exaggerating, different untitled documents. And so I always want to give it a title. That's the very first thing I do. When I click off of that field, you'll notice that the tab at the top of the screen is going to automatically update with the title that I put in there, and that those two things will be linked. A week from now, when I go back in my Google Drive and I need to find this file, I'm going to look for the name Live Demo 727, and I'd be able to get back in there. Some other things that we can notice just to the right of the name, if I want to favorite it, I can put a star. If I want to put it into a folder, I can click that folder icon and select exactly where I want it to go. So just a few quick things that we wanted to make sure we saw. I remember back in 2008 when I first started using Google Docs and how amazing it was that there was not a save button. And think about our students today, right, that have been using Docs their entire academic career, and they don't even know what the save icon means when you're in any other tool. If it doesn't automatically save, those kids, it's a real tough transition for them. You tell them to click on the floppy disk and they're like, I don't know what that means. What are you talking about? Right? So we need to, we're really getting spoiled that it's automatically saving for us. So what I'd like you guys to do right now is think through what is one topic that you are interested in. And it can be for your own enjoyment, does not need to be tied to school whatsoever. And just go ahead and type it. It can be a fragment, just type it on that first line of your doc. All right, so mine's really exciting. Right now, I'm reading a history of the Northwest Territory and what that process for statehood was and for education and all sorts of things. So that is my interest as of today, okay? And what we're gonna do now that we have that simple sentence in there is I'm going to share with you one of my favorite tools in Google Docs, okay? And that's in the very bottom right-hand corner. You're gonna see something that looks like a speech bubble with a star in it, and that's our Explore tool. Let's go ahead and click Explore. And when we do that, it says you're probably interested in the topic of the Northwest Territory. And for you, it is going to be whatever you just typed. So once I find the topic I'm interested in, and mine's right here at the beginning, I'm clicking on it, and it's going to do an entire Google search for me directly within my doc. So I don't have to have different tabs going. I can work directly here. So within this, there's some other cool things that I get once I'm in here. All of these are links, so I can go to any of them, any of these resources. If I go to Encyclopedia Britannica, opens that up for me, and say that I find I find a quote that I want to use. I find a passage, I'm doing my note taking, and I want to be able to cite this. Look how easy it is for our kiddos. So when they hover over the result, this quote button or cite as footnote comes up. And we can click on that, and it does a complete citation for me automatically. Now, I'm going to go ahead and let you know that this feature came out about 3 months after I got done with grad school a few years ago. And now that it's available, I've been using this nonstop with my current courses that I'm in. Now, if you teach something other than MLA, you use a different citation format. If you click the 3 dots next to web results, you can switch to APA or Chicago, and it will, again, allow you to do citations that way. The next thing that we're going to look at is where it says images. And this does my image search directly in here too. So I'm going to find the image I want. It's going to drop it in here. And there are a couple different ways to add images to a Google Doc. I'm aware of that, and a lot of you are aware of that too. The reason I like to do it through the Explore tool is that when we click on it, it's going to give me a link to where that file came from. If you do it any of the other ways, you lose that feature, but if you do it through the Explore tool, it tells me that it's coming from Wikimedia, and I can go back and find or cite it properly. The final thing that we have within the Explore tool is it's doing a search for all of Google Drive for me. And this is a really amazing feature if you are trying to do lesson planning and you need to find all of the different files related to your unit that you're doing. You know, maybe we're doing ancient civilizations. I teach 3rd grade, and I'm able to go and find all of those files and slides that I'm using with my kiddos simply within my lesson plan or unit plan document that I'm building. All right, so again, Explore tool, one of my favorite tools. Some other things that we have within Google Docs. I'm making an assumption right now that a lot of us already are familiar with how to use the basic features of Docs or of Word and the word processing part of how to change a font and things like that. The next thing I want to show, we're going to go back to tools, and I want to go to voice typing. So with voice typing, it brings up this little icon, the microphone icon. Notice that right above the microphone, I'm able to select a different language and different dialect. So for English, I have probably like 15 different dialects that I can do. For Spanish, I can pick individual countries too. Mine's already set for English US, that's what I speak. And I'm ready to model this. I love being able to use voice typing because it allows my learners who have amazing ideas in their head to be able to transfer it to a blank Google Doc, which for other students may be intimidating, period. If we can remove barriers for our students to demonstrate and represent their knowledge, then we're giving them a better access to their own learning and being able to represent it in a variety of ways, period. Why would we ever want to deny our students this gift, question mark? New paragraph, who loves voice typing, question mark, I know I do, exclamation. All right, so other than the very last thing where it says exclamation instead of doing the mark there, this did a pretty great job, right? And we can go through, and I know that there are a couple things, I'm a little congested today, so it may not have picked up on it perfectly. But in here, anytime that it's underlined, it's not quite sure if that's exactly what I said, so I can go back and review. Just a quick note, I probably would not encourage my students to do this for a final draft of a paper, but if we're doing a brainstorm or trying to generate all the questions we have on a topic, or it's an informal writing prompt, I feel like this is an excellent way for our kiddos to be able to express their ideas. And I'm coming at this from being a recovering English teacher where I care deeply about the craft, but I care even deeper that my students are able to represent their ideas and communicate their ideas in an effective way. And that's my goal here. So again, we can use voice typing to allow our students to do that. I'm going back to tools now. And the next thing I want to show is how we can use the Translate document. And so I know that in our schools, we have students from all over the world. The school that I serve has students from over 50 birth countries. So I need to be able to make resources in a variety of languages. So I'm going to come in here to Translate, choose the language I want it to go into. For this, we'll do French and then Translate. And in about 5 seconds, it's going to open up and have my translated resource where my students can now go in, find the information they need that's in their language. I can communicate better with the parents and families, and it just eliminates some barriers. Now, a quick caveat, it is using Google Translate. It's not going to be perfect, but it will get us much closer than if we tried to do it on our own for the 5 or 6 different languages that we support in our classrooms on a daily basis. And I know a lot of people got soured on Translate pretty early on its introduction, but they have improved dramatically over the last couple of years, and it works far better now. All right, so in here, some other things that I think are really important when it comes to a Google Doc. Obviously, on the right-hand corner, we have the share button. This is an incredibly important feature if you're not familiar, and we can type in individual people's names. So if I wanted to go to my friend John, and now I can say John is an editor or a commenter or a viewer, and that allows me to decide how he engages with this resource. I want John to be a commenter. And some other things that we can do, I'm directly in my doc, right beneath my share button, you'll see a pencil in there and it says editing. If I click on that drop down, I also have the choice of suggesting or viewing. So if a student shares a resource or maybe they submit something in Google Classroom, I might want to use the suggesting mode where my changes don't take effect. If I want to change the word allows to permits, it's not actually changing the saved version of Google Docs, but it does become a suggestion over here that my student can either accept or decline, and they regain control. This is also helpful. Oh, and John's in here too. Cool. This is also helpful if you are collaborating with a PLC. Then you can all go in, and instead of automatically changing something in another person's resource, you're merely suggesting, and it might be more effective that way. And let's see what John's doing in here. Cool. And you can see that he's making the suggestion, and I'm going to accept it. And now it is keeping what he left. Now, I believe, you know, a lot of us have been able to work and collaborate in a doc with other people at the same time. If you're doing that with your students, might want to go through, here are the best practices before we do so. So please don't delete something that somebody else said, or be respectful, things along those lines. At this point, I'm ready to close out one last thing I want to definitely highlight with docs is how we can add links to something. So if I want to add a link to this first sentence up here, I'm learning about the Northwest Territory. I've highlighted that phrase, and I can either go up to where it looks like a chain, directly above there, or I can go to Insert and find Link. So here I'm doing that, and it will do a search for Northwest Territory. You can link to anything you want, including other Google Docs. I'm hitting apply. And now my students, when they click on it, and I guess I'm still in suggesting mode, when my students click on it, it will take them to that resource, and it won't just be a long URL. So again, it's highlighting the words that you want to become a link, finding our chain, or going to insert link, and pasting in the URL that we want them to be directed to. All right, so at this point, I'm going to go back to our slides, and I'm going to just check. We've learned how to create, we've learned how to edit, we looked at the different features of the tools and explore, we saw how to share, and we looked at how we can do comments and how we can do suggestions for our students to give them feedback. All right, so the next step that we're going to just briefly look at, and we won't have a full amount of time to really fully build these. I have two different challenges for you. And so the first one is completing a set of little skills and being able to make sure that you know how to use these features of Google Docs. The other one is kind of a lead-in for choice boards and HyperDocs, which is a session that we've done a couple times in these series. So if we click where it says Padawan, distance learning, it's going to open up in a template for you. And in here, it will ask you how to do some different things. So how do you rename a doc? How do you use the Explore tool and things along those lines? And this is one way that you might be able to make a resource or make an activity for your students and then post it in an learning management system like Canvas, or be able to post it in Google Classroom. The other option over here, and again, these are just very quick introductions. We have both a choice board and we have a simple HyperDoc. So with the choice board, it's giving you a template of that tic-tac-toe style. This is one of the simpler choice boards, and you can start filling things in using hyperlinks, putting pictures in there for our kids, and so forth. So we're going to spend just about 3 minutes exploring one of these, and we'll come back together in just a few moments. It's 11 o'clock right now, 11:03. We'll come back together, kind of talk through what challenges or barriers you might have seen and how you overcame them. Go. During this time, if you have a question, you can unmute your microphone, ask it out loud, and I might be able to run through a couple of those questions. Take another minute or so to look through those different choices, and then we'll come back together. Okay, so I just got a question from Caitlin, and I'm going to put a link. I think Eric just found it, so that's awesome. But I will run through it very quickly too. So the question was, what are the, how can you make a forced copy for when you make share a URL for a doc or slides? And so this might be a little nerdy for some of you. You can keep looking through those challenges for the next moment or so. But if you look at the URL, so that's a web address for a doc or a slide, you'll notice about 2/3 of the way to the right, it says /edit. Now, if I delete everything after the slash and make it copy, now when someone gets that link, it's going to ask, do you want to make a copy? Or if I am sharing something and I want it to be /preview, it's going to make it where I don't see the editing options at all, and I only see the content. And that same thing can work for docs. So here, instead of edit, I'm making it preview. And now when someone goes and visits that URL, it kind of looks like a website. Now, some other ways that we can do this, and in my slides, I've been using templates. And so we can make it /template/preview. And that's when you can both navigate by using the arrows within slides, but then you also get the blue use template button. This is very helpful if you are working with people who aren't in a Google Classroom with you, or who aren't in a learning management system program with you, because now you can give those copies to people, but they can still see what it is that they're making a copy of before they put it in their drive. Okay. And again, I know that's kind of geeky, kind of nerdy, but for a lot of people, those can be very helpful skills to be able to use. Okay. So I do want to quickly pause. What were some challenges that you experienced when you're looking at those different challenges? And then were you able to overcome them, or are they still barriers for you that we can work through together? And at this point, you can unmute, and I'd love to hear from you guys. Okay. No challenges. Yeah, go ahead, Sally.
Yeah, I just found that it just really was not enough time. I'm new to Google Docs and how to use it, and I'm like, I've got 3 minutes. So I was challenged in that way.
Okay, and you're right. We are challenged by time for sure. So thank you for bringing that up. I'm sure a lot of you felt that as well. And so I think the goal here was to put out some different instructional ideas of how you might be able to use the tool, kind of with the understanding that you won't be able to fully complete them in this given time. But
I realized, like, when you were teaching us how to open a document, put an idea down that you're interested in, and then how to search and find additional resources online. I mean, I could have my students, I teach high school, just do that as an exercise so that they get familiar with how to use Google Docs that they may not even have a clue about.
Yeah, for sure. I've worked with plenty of high school students who did not know that you could use the Explore tool. And when I share it with them, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. There is an excitement even about how to use this little piece of a technology tool. So yeah, anything that can make their lives easier, trying to find information out. I have 2 kids. I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. When my 7-year-old was 4, we started using the Explore tool for his questions. And every couple days we do an I wonder, and he could ask whatever question he want. We use the voice typing to be able to record it. And then we use the Explore tool to go back and find the answers. As a pre-literate learner, he was able to really own a lot of that process. And then after I read to him or he watched a video about the content about his questions, then he again could use voice typing to be able to put it onto the doc or put it into the slides. So, you know, from the high school level, grad school level, pre-K level, these tools are kind of universally helpful.
The templates that you were we supposed to be able to click on and edit the templates? Because I never figured out how to get that.
Okay, so with those links, if you click on it, in the top right-hand corner, you'll probably see Use Template. Do you
Yeah,
see that?
I opened it up and I have Drive and everything. It's just that it's not linking on were we supposed to open it up and actually form fill in anything, or were they just to look at?
You should be able to edit them. So if you click on, let me share my screen again. So if I'm on slide 11, right? And I click on that second option, the middle option, the tic-tac-toe board, it comes to this screen.
Okay, so it did, but then how did you get to edit in there?
So
Oh,
if
you
you
have to
click-
use template again.
Yeah. And that will save a
Oh.
copy in your Google Drive that you can adapt and edit however you want.
Okay, so you had to do it twice. So I had done the use template to get and then clicked on but to get to it, I had to right click and then go to the link for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm
But
not
so
sure.
then you have to use the template again. And
Mhm.
so now it allows you to edit it though?
Yeah, so now I'm in, this is a new copy of it and I can make whatever changes I want and it will.
That's what I did wrong. I needed to hit twice, the use template for the original PowerPoint and then use template again after I
Yep.
go to the link.
You're right.
Okay, all right. That's
good
what I did
point
wrong.
of clarification for the future that I'll be sure to be explicit about.
Because
All
I
right.
had thought I had already done the use template. I didn't need to keep that. It just was showing up.
Mhm.
Yep. All right, cool. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Adam,
Right.
I have
Yeah.
another question. This
Okay.
is Sally again.
Hi,
So
Sally.
for the tic-tac-toe challenge, what is a resource that we could use to look at other tic-tac templates or how other people have created the tic-tac-toe? Choice
Good
menu.
question. Liza, do we have one of the HyperDoc choice boards and HyperDoc sessions tomorrow, or is that not going to be for another week?
I'm checking my schedule.
So Sally, later on today, when I send out the follow-up email that has a recording of the session, that's going to take you to my website, and all of our materials for the other sessions are on there too. There's one fully about choice boards and HyperDocs, which may or may not be offered again tomorrow.
It's out. No, it's August 4th.
Okay, so August 4th is our next time that we're offering it, but there are the slides on that site, and then also a recording from last week's session of it. And that has plenty of ideas of different types of things that you can put in there.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so at this point, we're gonna scoot onto slides. And we have a lot of things to look at for slides as well. There is a challenge in there, and I'll just say up front, we probably won't get to too much time to actually work within it, but you will have a moment to be able to see what those ideas are. Okay. So slides, I use these to share ideas with other people and to be able to explore and showcase some ideas. As we saw before, we have a short intro video, and directly above that, we also have that getting started with set of resources for slides. And what I'd like you to do is to open up a new slides file. You can either do that by going back to Google Drive, or if you create a new tab in your browser and simply write slides.new, that will open up a fresh set of slides for you as well. So it'll take about 10 seconds for everybody to get to their new slides, and then we'll start our run through. Okay. So just as we did before, I want to make sure that I give this a title. Mine, of course, will be Live Demo 727. And in here, a couple things that we want to make sure we know how to do. We have our slides that are going to be on the left-hand side, and then we edit with the one that's selected. It's going to be highlighted, and that's going to be in the center part. To be able to add a new slide, we can come over here. There's a plus sign, and just to the right of that allows us to select one of 11 different templates or layouts. So our first one by default will be the title slide, but then if we wanted to add a second one, we can pick any of these. I'm going to do section, title, and description. And so in here, we can depend on these layouts and start to customize them. After we add some text, and that's just clicking in one of our text boxes here, I can do topic 1, idea 1, and start to put those parts in. Then you also notice that on the right-hand side of your screen is a little pop-up sidebar that has different themes. And you can pick any of these and you can change them at any point. Now, an interesting thing, a few moments ago, we looked at the Explore tool within Docs. Explore exists within Slides as well. And not only can you do those research pieces that we saw before, but it will also look at different layouts and suggest things for you. So go ahead and pick a theme. I'll do this beach day one. Okay, so adding text, I feel like most of us are probably familiar with that, but I do want to come up to where it says insert and look at the variety of things that we can put into our slides. So the very first one is image. And when we hover over that, we have 6 different choices. We can upload, we can search the entire internet for pictures. We can look for pictures in our Drive or our Google Photos. We can add something by URL, but this last one is kind of interesting. We can use the webcam on our computer to be able to take a picture. And a lot of teachers use this for students to, if they did a physical artifact or they want to represent their pre-writing that they did on a piece of paper, then they can hold it up, take a picture, and insert that in here. So if I use camera, and what book are you reading right now? Then I can hold this up, insert, and now I have this picture in here that I can annotate or make changes to however I want. So continuing through insert, we're going to just see a few different types of things we can put in here. We can insert audio. So you would need to have an MP3 file that is on or in your Google Drive. So right here, I have one, it's an interview about universal design for learning that I did. So I selected it and it's going to put this audio icon and I can play it.
So far, most of what we've talked about.
Okay, so I can play it. My students can listen to it again and again. So maybe I have directions for the assignment we're doing, or if I'm doing a read aloud for a short story or a book that we're doing, I can bring that in here. My students can narrate their presentations and be able to put that in here as well. And we do get some options on the right-hand side. Do we want the audio to loop? Do we want it to start playing automatically? You can change the color of the icon. So a couple different things we can do. And it is looking at my theme to suggest color. So I might pick that one and now it matches over here. If we go back to insert, we have video that we can use, and this can pull from 2 different places, either YouTube, which is owned by Google, or Google Drive. And so these are all the videos that I've saved in Drive that I can go and select. They finally came up. Okay, so here's one, select, and now I can give my students instructions, or they can record an explanation of an idea or challenge something and be able to put that directly in here. Back and insert, just a couple last things. We have shapes, and something that's cool about the shape. So if I pick this option here, any shape that I add is also a text box. So all I have to do to make it, to be able to type in there, is do a double click, and type whatever I want. So put your questions in these boxes. So now whenever a student sees that type of shape, that rounded rectangle on a page, they know that they should go in and type a question, or find a vocabulary word, or whatever that idea might be. Within Insert, we also can do tables, charts. So this is pulling from Google Sheets, and we can represent things that way. Now this is a newer part that a lot of people who I've worked with have really loved, and that's diagram. Doesn't have the coolest title, but when we click on diagram, it opens up on the right-hand side with 6 different styles of diagrams that we can do. And if I pick one, and I'm using this one again in a grad school project that I'm doing right now, I can click process, and it has 5 different views of how I can represent a process. I can choose how many steps I want in that process and what color I want it to be as well. And when I'm ready to add this, all I have to do is click and start putting in my own content. So they have things in here for a timeline. They have cause and effect and relationships, and I can very quickly have my students go in and represent their ideas in a very professionally looking, organized way. So again, that's going up to Insert, Diagram, and then selecting what it is I want. So a lot of the features that we looked at for slides are similar to docs. You know, we already said that we can use the Explore tool. When we go to tools, we'll see that there are some options in here. Now in here, we can still do linked objects. We can do dictionaries, Q&A history, different spelling things. On the right-hand side, we have the option of sharing, as we did when it came to docs, and a lot of those skills are going to be the same thing. Now, an important note about linking things in slides: pretty much anything can serve as a link. So this the shape here, when I click on it, I can use a link and be able to make that go somewhere, or this image here, I can click and make it a link and it will go somewhere as well. So if I want that to go to google.com, I can apply and I'm good to go. Okay, so I know that was a very, very quick introduction to Google Slides. I know that. I do want to show a couple instructional ideas about how we might be able to use this. So I'm going to go back to my slides now. Please remember that our Getting Started resource on slide 14 can help you to answer a lot of those questions that you might run into about how do I add media or whatever it might be. When we go slide 15, I'm going to lose some of you on this because I know you'll get really excited. Let's go ahead and click slide 15. There's a link on there. And back in April, I discovered a website called Slidesmania, and it has been so incredibly popular with the teachers I've worked with since that time. This is a free website. It's made by an educator, and in here they have 19 pages of different school templates that you can use that range from, here are filing cabinets to help think through like how we add files or resources, doing a day planner, making your kind of a mock school phone app, lots of different things in here. And you can look through a variety of ways that people are using Google Slides with their students and get inspired by it. So on the second page of these results, you'll see Lego Mania Google Slides template for math lessons. Really cool ideas for choice boards all throughout here. All right, so I acknowledge I'm not going to get all of you back. Some of you are going to continue exploring Slidesmania, and that's perfectly cool. I get it, but I do want to continue on with our presentation. Slide 16 has 2 different ways that you may choose to use Google Slides in your classroom. The first is that Padawan challenge or idea, and this is allowing everybody to have the anyone with the link can edit. And when they go here, or maybe you use that in Google's Classroom, when they go to this resource, everyone can get a slide. And this could be a good beginning of the year activity where make a slide that's all about you and how you spent your summer, or what's something that you learned during quarantine, whatever it might be. And they can add those pictures, that text, the videos in here to help show what it is that they care about, what those passion projects might have been. And again, it's a really easy, lightweight way for our kids to share who they are, what matters to them. So that's one idea on the left. And then on the right-hand side, since about May, there's been this concept called a Bitmoji Classroom that's been very popular. And so in here, this is a resource that would allow you to use Google Slides to make your own set of resources, but make it look like what your learning space would be, whether it's an actual picture or kind of cartoony. And then you can add different links in here for items that represent you and that would help your students in your class. So I know a lot of teachers are using this for a beginning of the year activity to help the students get to know who you are and what tools you might be using in class. Okay. I know that this has been a very fast session. We've gotten a lot of ideas out there. I do want to just quickly pause and hear from a few of you about what are some instructional ideas that you have or inspirations that you might have when it comes to using docs or slides in your own classroom. So you can go ahead and unmute. I'm going to stop my screen share and I'd love to hear from maybe 2 or 3 people.
Hi, I'll talk.
Okay.
So we do quite a few in elementary school where kids create their own, we create classroom books where each child creates a page in the book. And I think Google Slides will be a good way to do that when we're working virtually, especially. They can each create a page in the book using the slides versus the actual paper product.
I love that. That's really cool. Thank you. Anyone else?
Our district has officially decided to go virtual as of last week, so I've been using the Google Slides to make digital interactive notebooks, using some templates that I found on Slide Mania. So that's definitely going to be a big help because it'll keep everything in one place, and once we return face-to-face, we can just pick up where we left off.
Really cool. Thank you, Caitlin. And again, please start with using templates. Like there are some really amazing ones that can help guide you to really focus your time on your instructional content and not the design part. People have already made the design part, so let's leverage that to help serve our students. Maybe one last person who'd like to share on how you plan to use some of these tools with your kiddos.
Adam, I teach upper elementary special ed,
Okay.
and I think the voice typing will be amazing for my kids. I find that verbally they're so much more advanced than they are when they have to actually put it on paper, and I think that would take that intimidating part out of it for them.
And I'll be honest, like that population, those students, those are the ones who I'm most excited to be able to share voice typing with. I've also worked with a few teachers who might have arthritis and they can no longer type. And I remember one kindergarten teacher 5 years ago who I showed that to, and she began crying. She's like, I can work with my teammates again. And, you know, imagine a student who's always had that barrier of being able to get their ideas down. And now we're removing that barrier. They can participate, feel like an equal in every way. Like, yeah, let's do that as much as we can. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to bounce back to our slides as we get into our wrap-up time. So again, you know, you can go back to those challenges. You can go back to Slides Mania. They're linked here for you. With our wrap-up, I want to thank you guys for joining. We will get into a Q&A part in just a few moments. You can find more of my resources at the bit.ly that's on here. You can find me on social media as well. And, you know, the idea came up about more about choice boards and HyperDocs, if you click this link that's on slide 18, it's gonna open up to my website, and that's the top of our screen here. Slowly, you'll see a drop down for VASCL, and this has all of the sessions that I've done. So here's choice boards and HyperDocs, and you can click to get a copy of the slides. You can just shuffle through them as well. And then beneath there, we have the recording from last week that you can go back to. So all of that's available for you. Please use it. If you find it helpful, share it with someone else. And then August 4th, if you want to join a session, you can, and we can go back over it. Continuing on, thank you to John and Eric for being amazing in the chat, answering all the questions. I kept seeing them pop up, and you guys handled them with a plum, so well done. Thanks to Pam and Liza for putting these sessions on, allowing them to be completely free for all educators. I think that we've done close to 40 different sessions for Virginian educators so far, and that all of those could be free is pretty amazing. So thank you, and thank you guys. So with this, if you could please leave some feedback. If you click the bit.ly, it will take you to our feedback form, and in there, answer the few different questions that I have. The final question on that first page is, would you like a renewal certificate? If you select yes, it'll open to a new page. And please make sure that your name and email address are spelled correctly so that you can get that, that it will automatically email you your certificate. If you run into any issues with that, reach out and we'll help you out. At this point, if you want to stick around and ask some questions, you certainly can. Otherwise, once you leave the feedback, thank you for joining and have a great day.
I have a question, and it's probably been answered, and I probably already know the answer. But if I'm doing slides and I liked the where you could do like steps or something, and I was thinking I could do it for writing, introduction, body, 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 for them to put their ideas. Can I make copies of that for each student to then submit to me that's separate, or does it all have to be in one slideshow?
So good question. If you wanted all of your students to submit on the same slide deck, you could go through and kind of like the beginning of the year activity that I highlighted towards the end, maybe put each student's name on a different slide so they have a specific place to go in and add their ideas. Otherwise, you might want to use something like Google Classroom, that you have your initial template and then do the make a copy for each student.
Okay, and I didn't know if you could do it the same way in Google Classroom, because this is, like I said, it's all kind of new to me. So
Yeah.
Okay.
So you definitely can, and it's kind of up to you what which of those two pathways you'd like to take. Did that help, Martha, or is the question kind of still lingering for you?
No, that's fine. Yep, that worked.
Or sorry, Melinda. Cool.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right. Other questions that y'all might have?
I just had a quick question because I missed it. I put it in the chat, but how do you do the citations when you do the Explorer?
Okay. Yeah, let me share my screen again and I'll walk through that. All right, so I'm in my doc. And I'll get the Explorer tool up 1 second. Okay, so when I click Explore, again, it's trying to guess what topic I'm interested in. I'm selecting Northwest Territory. And when I do that, it comes up with my different results. And with each of these, when I hover over that entry, I get that little quote button in the top right-hand corner. And when I select Cite as Footnote, it's going to put in a superscript, and then down below it's entered in as a footnote. And when I'm ready to actually build my my reference page or my works cited page, I would just alphabetize them, put it on a separate page, and I'd be good to go. Did that help?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Awesome.
I missed the little quote thing.
All right. Any other questions out there? Okay. Well, let's see the chat still going pretty quickly. So the question, Angela, pre-made slides made for specific content. So if you go to the choice board and HyperDoc session that we looked at, especially if you look at the HyperDoc part of it, there are links in there for subject-specific resources. Not all of those will be slides. A lot of those will be docs, but that's one place you can go. Another place, Eric and John, or anyone in the session, what's the name of the Virginia resource that came out like in February or January that had all the different digital content?
Virtual Virginia?
Virtual Virginia. No, I don't know if that's it.
No.
Virtual Virginia might have that, but John or Eric, do you know what I'm talking about?
Go Open VA.
Virginia?
John, say it again.
Go Open VA.
Yeah, Go Open VA. So in there you can say, I need a material, or I need resources for, there we go. All right, so when we click, and I'll share my screen again, and then I'll do a quick demo of Go Open VA. So clicking on it. And so in here, I can say I need it for mathematics, for upper primary, and search. And in here, I don't know, all right, you'd have to look for slides in particular. Let's see, material type. Might be lesson or notes, interactive, but you would be able to filter and find what it is you're looking for. That's just a helpful resource overall. All right. Any other questions out there that we can all think through together?
The final chat room asks about links that were in the chat room during the session, and sometimes you add those to the email, so just a heads up.
Okay. Cool. So I'll try to do my best with that. Okay. Well, thank you all. And if you have any questions, you can shoot them to me or look through the materials that I'm sending out later today. I hope that you join me in some other sessions and that you found this helpful. Thanks, guys. Bye.